I've been talking this whole time and nobody could hear me. Well, good morning, everyone. We're having technical difficulties. Welcome to Coffee Chat with the Candidate. My name is Amanda Bustard. I'm running for the by-election for Town Council. Today is the deadline. If you are interested in getting your name in to run for Town Council by election, I think you have until noon today to submit your nomination papers. So I've submitted my nomination papers and I'm ready to go. So what were we going to talk about? I just wanted to set up these little coffee chats because of obviously what's going on with some restrictions. I didn't want people to feel like they couldn't engage and couldn't participate. So I'm going to do coffee chats on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. And then I'm also going to schedule some other in-person if people are more comfortable with that, so they can come and chat with me and get to know me a little bit, ask me some questions. And I want to hear what you need out of a council person. I know we just through this about 6 months ago. So it's a little bit exhausting, I think, for people to continue to talk about it. But this is where we're at, and I think it's a good idea to keep the dialogue going. I think it's a good idea to keep the dialogue going throughout the whole 4 years that a person is a council person, and not just during election time. So what are we going to talk about today? Today, I asked the question, what makes an ideal candidate? So I'd like to know your thoughts on what some of the things that candidates should, sort of the traits and personality, and then also what skills and traits do you want in a council person? So if you are on the Facebook, I think I'm on YouTube as well, and you want to write a comment, please do. You can contribute something that you think, what makes an ideal candidate, what you'd like to see, what you look for. And then I'll maybe talk a little bit about the what I think is an ideal candidate and how I feel I match some of those things, and the reason why that I'm running, and think that I'm a good candidate for Nanton. So if you want to come online with me, you can have your face here with me and we can chat like in person. You just let me know, or you can send a comment and then I'll send you the link for you to actually come into the stream and we can have a bit of a conversation. So what is an ideal candidate? Okay. Oh, and it's on my website as well. I just had Dave say you're streaming successfully on your website. So I guess an important thing to know is if somebody you know is not on Facebook, I'm going to put it in here. If you're not on Facebook, you can go to www.voteamanda.ca and you'll see the stream live on there as well. And so you might not be able to comment from there. I don't think that is enabled, but you can definitely go and watch it. If you know that somebody isn't on Facebook and would like to see this, you can send them the link. They can listen to it afterwards so they can get an idea of the candidate as well, me, the candidate. I'm only doing this for me. I don't know everyone who's in running at the moment, so I'm focusing on me for you today. Okay, so what makes an ideal candidate? You know, I'm going to be honest and say up to about 8 months ago, that's not really something that I thought too much about or even considered being a part of my local municipal politics. But it's because of my passion that I have for Nanton and how involved I've been in the last 2 years that I feel like this is a great next step for me to be involved and to help continue to move things forward. I think Nanton is on a very, very positive trajectory. And so I think that I like to be involved in the conversation. I'd like to move things forward, you know, talk to people and see what their ideal is for Nanton, and see how we can get there. So there's so much potential that has grown in Nanton in the last couple years. And I think that there's definitely definitely different personalities that can continue to bring us there. There's people who are open, open to communication, open to ideas, open to potentials, and who are able to use a voice to make those ideas come forward. So if I'm going to kind of name off, so I've got basically three pillars of strengths that I think that I'm bringing to the campaign and that I could bring to the table for town council. And those are community focused, innovative, and hardworking. And so community focused is something that I just talked about, that I have been fairly involved in the last couple of years with different service groups and fundraising and initiatives that have happened, as well as being a part of the Parks and Rec Committee for the town. And that was because I wanted to be a part of things that are happening, like things that are going on now, and being part of the strategy and the potential of what we can do down the future. And some of that includes, what can we do in the rec center? What do we want to do with our parks? How do we need to kind of make more collaborative spaces in Nanton for people to come in, not just tourists and people driving through, but for our families here and for our seniors here, and a way for them to get together in safe and comfortable spaces. So community focus is something that I'm very passionate about. I think also innovative comes along with that, to be able to think outside of the box. What are we currently doing? I know there's a lot. Nanton has been around over 100 years. Our house alone is over 100 years old, so I know that. So I think that there's definitely experience that people have from, we've done this before, we did it this way, and how a person can look at that and sort of strategically think about, okay, how can we tweak that, or where did that fail, and how we can kind of, maneuver to move something forward in order for it to be successful. And there's going to be things you try. You're going to try, some things might not work, some things might be amazing, that you can do again and again. And so I think that with some of the things that my husband and I have brought to Nanton in the last 2 years is, during the pandemic, it was really difficult in that I know we all felt like we were, trapped in our homes and unable to do things. Kids couldn't do sports. We couldn't travel. We couldn't do the things we would normally want to do. And our business was essentially shut down because of government restrictions. So we decided that we would use our energy and our skills in order to use the technology that we have to bring people together. So that's where we started Good Morning Nanton live episodes each week. That's where we were doing our virtual live streaming dance parties. And we were doing events that were safe, but we're also bringing kids in. We were doing like the fort building contests. All aspects that we were considering of the small businesses and support local, and also our family and our community. So we had quite a few initiatives that brought all of that together, and we continue to. Good Morning Nanton Live is a huge passion of ours. We're almost at 2 years. It'll be 2 years at the end of March, which time super flies. And now we've got the radio station that we've started up as well, which is a nonprofit to give back into the community for music and arts. And we've got kids from the high school in the work experience program to show them and teach them some skills. So, we've done a lot, I think, to continue to bring people together. And I'm really proud of that. And along with that is the third pillar of hardworking. And that's something that I think I've learned very well in my life here, not just here in Nanton, but I grew up in Calgary. My parents were very hardworking, and when I was in high school, I had 2-3 jobs at one point. When I was a kid, my friend and I, we started a babysitters club, and we were babysitting, and we were, sharing resources and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I've always been that person who is an entrepreneurial spirit, and working hard. Right now, I am involved in a few social or service groups, and it was really important to me during COVID to keep going with stuff and to use my skills and energy for positive things. I worked for 10 years in oil and gas. I was an executive assistant for a CEO for an oil and gas company. And I learned a lot of great things. I was at the table for a lot of good conversations for project management, budgeting. I was in charge of board management, so I'm very familiar with how a board operates at a high level. And I think just as well, my role in the company was that person who was the in between, the liaison between the executive and the employees. That I was a person who would kind of communicate things on a level that was a little bit more like emphasizing the decisions of the executive, but also making people feel passionate about the reason to support the organization. And so a lot of those skills I was able to bring up, and now I can utilize them in other areas. Before COVID, there was a lot of things that I felt like I had more to offer for people who really needed it. These executives, as much as they were great people at times, and it was a wonderful organization, and I had so many things that I learned, and the benefits that were great, which was more than just the salary. It's the experiences that I got to have. I felt like I could contribute more to society with some of my skills. So I think that that's something that I can bring to council table. And also knowing that working within the team, communicating and bringing ideas together is really important. So if anyone has any questions, I feel free to post them in the comments, and I will address them. And again, if you want to join me live, I'll send you a link, and we can definitely chat kind of face-to-face online. If you're not comfortable with showing your face, definitely put a chat in, and so I can address any questions you have. Again, I kind of wanted to bring it back to what makes an ideal candidate. So I wrote some notes down. I think an ideal candidate supports communication. I know communication is a big topic in the last couple of weeks. Actually, it was a big topic in the fall election as well, that some people are feeling a little bit left behind and not knowing exactly what's going on. And there's a barrier there for people who aren't really comfortable with technology, don't really want to go on the Facebook. I don't blame you. Don't really want, don't have the time to think, oh, I should check the town website for information. There's a lot of things that you can get set up. There's text messages that can come to your phone from town council or from the town of Nanton office that are some notifications of things going on, some postings. It's not necessarily the events calendar that people really want to know, like what is going on in Nanton that I can participate in. And if you're a new resident in Nanton, that's also difficult to know, how do I dip my toe in? There's a lot in Nanton. There is so many great service groups that do so much for the town. But I feel like I'm not going to say they're cliquey, they're close-knit. And so sometimes it's you don't know how to break into that. You don't know who to introduce yourself to, or where do you start? And especially in this day where we're still online, it's hard to really meet people and get that connection with people. So we're hoping that's going to turn around soon, and that people can get out more. Nanton also has quite a few events that they do throughout the year. I think there's a Fireman Ball coming up. There's Nanton Days, which is in August, which the Chamber is usually responsible for getting some activities going. Businesses are being so collaborative and working together. There were street festivals last year. The farmers market is amazing, but it is difficult sometimes to know how do you get into doing something, and where we would need to know where are the gaps. So if somebody comes in and they are really passionate about, I'm going to say vertical gardening, you know, and right now you kind of look and say, well, who is there a gardening club? Is there something that we can do with that? Where do we get started? That's tough. It's tough to know. Like, it's tough to know who you can approach. The Net and Quality of Life Foundation is an amazing resource that you can go to. They have names for organizations, and they have a whole brochure menu of social groups or service groups that you can volunteer with. But I think there's also, you know, somebody that you need to connect with that represents the town, that you can communicate some ideas to, and that they're open to communicate, open to talk to you, and open to, it's not necessarily the town council's job to make those things happen, but it is part of communication and innovation that brings those things to the table. The disc golf course is a huge example of that. Disc golf was presented to the town as something that could be brought in, and it's at the Lions Grove Park, and it didn't cost the town. It did, maybe like there was some time that was taken from some of the people in the town office that were helping organize, but they were there to rally the service groups that provided the money to sponsor that. So that's an amazing thing where the town worked together with service groups to make something beneficial happen for a very, very low expense, low impact. So if you have ideas, I think knowing that somebody that you can communicate with the town council is important for that. And again, so open-minded. I think it's important to have a council person that doesn't have a specific agenda that's going to come in and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. Absolutely have ideas. I kind of am going in with a very much open mind of like, I'm not really sure what to expect, and I'm not really sure where I can put in my strengths and efforts. But I think if you have like one or two things that you want, I have to get these done as a council, you have to understand that there's 6 other people at that table with you, and not everything is going to be the same priority for everyone. And so, you know, you have to work as a team, work together. You have to convince them that this is a good thing. And sometimes it's not going to go through. So having a thick skin is part of that. And in the sense of, you know, you can't be too worried about what people are going to say about what your ideas are. Shalane is here. Hello, birthday girl, Shalane. 100% agree with open-minded council member. Thank you. I totally agree too. I think that there are so many things that there's so many people here that have great ideas and so smart and innovative, and you know, they just need to be heard. And sometimes it also takes a person to say like, yeah, you know, like, let's look into that. And that might mean too that you might have to put a little bit of energy to help bring those thoughts and ideas. But as long as you have somebody who's there, who's receptive to it, and that you know that you can reach out to, I think that's half of the battle of having your voice heard. So I think another ideal candidate would be community builder. So somebody who's focused on not just, you know, specifics of, obviously infrastructure is a huge part of running a community like this, running a town like this. And like a big corporation, a town is run like a corporation. So you have to know that everything is running properly, because if there's anything that's lagging behind, that's going to bring the rest of your organization behind. So you know, you have to have your eye on the ball of everything that's going on, and there can't be one thing that's not as important as the other. There's got to be a lot of balance there. But so community builder is an important part of making sure, like I said, with the disc golf, that groups are working together and not against each other. So, you know, there could be a potential that there are submissions for ideas for an area of town that multiple groups want to utilize for, and that would be difficult to make a decision on what is going to be the most important thing and what group is going to be successful with implementing it, because there has to be some kind of power between the words as well. So collaboration and having the open-minded talk of, if there are different groups who are looking to have utilize a space for different purposes, how they can collaborate together in order to make it successful and bigger and better than it ever would be. I mean, one of our most successful collaboration businesses is the Hive, and they do an amazing job of bringing different businesses together and giving an opportunity to people. Maybe one service group really struggles with fundraising and another is really great at it, and maybe they can work together to make a successful collaboration. A really funny story is that, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the app Canva. So we use Canva all the time. We use it for our Good Morning Anton Live. I used it to create, I'm going to take that banner down. I used it to create obviously some campaign materials. It's super efficient. It's super easy to use. Don't have like a background in anything like that, but Canva makes it really easy. So recently, when I was ordering some materials for the campaign, there was an option to get them printed and pick up for free at your local Staples store. So this was a collaboration that Canva and Staples have done, which I think kudos to Staples, because they're getting, like, Canva is a huge thing right now that, you know, millions of people are utilizing it. It has a free application that you don't have to pay to utilize it. And then there's a paid version as well. But for the free version, you could whip up some posters. Actually, I did some for a fundraiser that's coming up for the grain elevators. I sent it to Okotoks to get printed, and I'm going to pick it up later for free, no shipping. So super effective. And I think that being able for other groups to collaborate and think of ways that they can, you know, offset each other, like, our skills are this, our skills are that. You know, if the Children's Society and the promoters want to work together on something, maybe they can. If the grain elevators, there was last year, the grain elevators and the chamber put an application in for some funding for some green space. I think that's amazing. So working together and having open communication, I think, is a huge part of it. So there's a couple other things. Okay, so I printed off this, what every counselor needs to know from Alberta Municipal Affairs. And I just wanted to kind of say, I just wanted to read what they said. The purposes of a municipality are to provide good government, to foster the well-being of the environment, to provide services, facilities, that are necessary or desirable for the part of the municipality, to develop and maintain safe, viable communities, and to work collaboratively with neighboring municipalities to plan, deliver, and fund services. So there's the collaboration again. I know that with current council members or former council members, that is a big deal, to reach out to other towns, municipalities, find out what they're doing, find out what opportunities they have, find out what their struggles are. I know that, you know, I think that there's a current council person who says that he often looks at some of the, you know, some of the rates that their taxpayers are paying to compare to what we have and see, like, are we too far off? Are we in line? And I think that's really important. I think that you can't have a narrow focus in just what you're doing or what we have. There's opportunities out there to learn and to find out more. So yeah, let's see, what else did I have here? What skills and traits do you want in a council person? So this is a really uncomfortable thing for me, actually, to sit here and talk to anyone, the outwards there, about myself directly is a little bit uncomfortable for me, but I'm going to toot my horn a little bit. For skills and traits, I feel like my work experience, like I talked about, working for a very large, $36 billion company, allows me to really see some of the aspects at the table of budgeting, infrastructure, planning, strategy, keeping yourselves focused in the guardrails of what you've planned for 5-year, 10-year plan, and make sure that you're keeping in line with it, because you've agreed to that strategy, and you have that obligation to the people that saw that, and to keep in line with it. Obviously, things happen. Unexpected things come up, but you have to make sure that anything new that you're going to bring into the table is going to fit within those guardrails of what you've decided for strategy and budget, and not necessarily go too far out, because once you start straying away, then things are happening, unexpected things, maybe additional costs. Oh, now we have to do this because we've done that. So just kind of keeping yourself focused in the purpose and the goal and the strategy of what the council has put forward. And I know that they're doing some strategy sessions in March once the new council member is elected. So I think that's really, really exciting to be a part of that. So there's another thing that I had thought about in terms of skills and traits that you want in a council person. And I think diversity is a big part of that as well. For people's backgrounds, for different stages of life that they're in, that they are representing, a more specific aspect, like maybe they're looking at their people who are retired that are looking at the people who come here as a focus of retirement. There's people who raise families here, that's an important aspect to know about, to have an experience with. And then there's also really skilled people who have diverse backgrounds in different aspects that can bring ideas to the table, and different energies. So I think it's really important that there is a range of people that are elected to the town council, and there isn't just sort of like one specific type of person. I mean, they could probably get lots of done if they're all on the same page, but are they listening to the residents and the stakeholders efficiently enough, because they don't know the experience that comes with some of the other backgrounds that people can bring. So I don't know. I feel like I've been talking pretty constantly for the last half hour. I do see that there's been some people popping in and out, and I appreciate that. This will be left on the pages that it's broadcast. So there's my personal page, the Vote Amanda Facebook page, the voteamanda.ca website, and let's see. So voteamanda.ca if you're not on Facebook. It's also on my YouTube channel. I wonder what that is. I feel like it's just Amanda Bustard. I could post it on here too, if people want to watch it outside of Facebook. So they can watch it next Monday. We're going to come back. Let me just see. Next Monday morning, I'm going to be here again. And the February 7th. What do you think should be a priority for Nanton Town Council as they consider the upcoming strategy planning in March? So I think that's an interesting one that people should weigh in as well. So what do you think should be a priority for Nanton Town Council as they consider the upcoming strategy planning in March? I've got some ideas around communication, economic development, rec facilities, programs, beautification. Beautification was something I know that has been brought up. I was at the council meeting last Monday to have some I was there as a viewer only, but I wanted to see what the conversation was going to be like about some budgeting proposals. It was a very preliminary budget discussion. Didn't seem like there was much outside of the norm of what they were thinking of, but I think it would be interesting to see how some of them are broken down. There's going to be some assessments that come in for some of the line items to make sure that those numbers are correct, and see where some of the wiggle room is, and see what some of the priorities are for people in that strategy planning and the budget development. So anyway, so I think I'm going to close her down for now unless I see any other questions come in. If you want to just say hi, I would love that. It's Monday morning. It's a little bit chilly out, so we need some warm highs and high fives to get the day started. So if you have any questions at all, if you want to ask me a question after this has been broadcast and you're watching a copy of it, please leave a comment and I will reply and maybe be able to address it at the next coffee chat. But other than that, please join me next Monday, February 7th at 9 a.m. and we will talk about strategy planning, what that means for you guys, and what your priorities are. So that's it for today, you guys. If you, again, reach out to me anytime. I'd love to hear from you. And I hope to see as many people here next week. And have a wonderful week. Thanks, everyone. Bye.